The world is a chaotic and rage-filled place today as we all try to find balance and normalcy. Many of us are frustrated and overwhelmed by it all. The news is filled with violence and hardships that people around the globe face each and every day. Many of us are asking how I can make this better. How can I help work through all of this? The answer is simple. An art that we have almost made obsolete. It's speaking to each other, listening to each other, seeing each other. Could it be that simple? See and be seen, hear and be heard? Could it really be? Let's find out and have a conversation. Oh, that's funny in itself because I put up the wrong backdrop, but that's okay. Joe won't mind.
It's fine.
So I am.
Jays.
It is seriously. It's been one of those weeks, and you can see I'm lit by the holy light right now. I can't get out of that. Hey, I'll take it, right? All right, Miss Jess, why don't you just tell our listeners, our watchers, whatever you want to call them, who you are, and give them a little, because I really don't know. That's what people say. Oh, well, who's this person? I love her to death, and my clients, as has her mom, but this is an opportunity to kind of get to know people in a different way. And I'm kind of trying to encourage that because people need to have conversations to be able to deal with life. So Absolutely. Tell us who you are, my dear.
Hello, my name is Jessica Oz. I'm a single mother of two. My daughter is 6 and my son is 4. I'm from Minnesota. I do part-time baking and catering from home. We're starting kind of a new adventure with the restaurant in town here. And more importantly, God found me about 9 years ago, and my life has completely been transformed.
Well, that's awesome. That's always fun. That's always fun.
Absolutely.
And it's actually funny you brought that up because somebody got hold of me last night just on Facebook. I haven't met this person in real life, but we go back and forth every now and then. She's got kind of a similar path, and she was talking just about that, how God kind of smacked her, and it was like everything you thought was the way it should be is now turned on its end. Yep. So I'm going to start with your family, with the kids, okay? I have a daughter too. I was a single mom for a very long time, from the time she was 5 on. Her dad's still in the picture, but kind of not, right? So I know how important the kids are. So how are your children? How do they deal with stuff? A lot of the stuff that's going on right now and in the world, or even at their schools or around you guys. How are they kind of coping and dealing with all that?
They are both extremely sensitive, extremely tuned in. They're little healers, and I see the meanness of the parents seeping into the kids. And then, the kids, you're not born hating, you're not born being mean, you're not born, being a bully. And I experienced all that kind of same stuff when I was going to school, and now seeing my kids going through it. It's rough, but now we've developed so much more awareness and there's so much more information. So I can give them more tools that my parents couldn't give me.
Yeah.
So, I see Willow being, bringing people together, and Jackson, he's only 4, but, his energy is really affected by all the stuff going on.
I think it's really hard as parents because we want to protect them.
Right.
I think you're more than likely, what I know of you, you're doing a wonderful job at it. I know when my daughter was growing up, she's actually, it's a little scary right now for me because she's 30.
Right. It's a lot scarier at 30, I think, than 3 or 4.
Yeah. And I kind of had to finally have a come to Jesus moment with her. And I said, you know what? You're not a kid anymore. You'll be my kid forever. But you're an adult. And when I look back at what I was doing at her age, it's like, yeah. And it's kind of like talking to myself. So the only thing I kind of try to pass to her now is, hey, you know what? I did that. Didn't work out great. You might want to
Learn from
and
my
then I leave it.
mistakes, please.
Yeah, yeah. But it's sad that even the little kids in school, they're all buried in their phone. They give little kids, they give like
Yep.
8-year-olds phones, and
Yep.
you go to pick up your child, and this is actually from grade school through to high school, and they're waiting for their rides out in front of the school. You know how it is, right?
Yep.
And they're all standing looking at their phones. Like mine's off right now, but it's like they're like this.
Right.
And you try talking to them and they're like, what? Yeah, oh yeah,
Mhm.
And it's like they're missing everything. They could be talking to a person that's right next to them,
Right.
but it's by the phone.
Right.
And they've lost so many
The genuine
opportunities.
connection.
Yeah, to learn how to connect and
Yep.
respect each other. And I'm grateful for people like yourself because kids need that nurturing, and they're not all going to be turning out that way, but it's rough. And I applaud you. I would not be wanting to bring a child up in this crazy world right now.
It's intense.
Well, how does it affect your daily life? Not just the kids, but how does it affect your daily life? What's going on?
You know, it used to affect my daily life more because I used to focus on things outside my little world. You know, if you start bringing things in, if you turn off the news, turn off everything out there, and start focusing on your family, focusing on your community, focusing
Keep
on your
talking. We have
circle,
a visitor. Come here. Keep talking. I hear you. Come on.
then things really get simplified. Like, do you see this horrible stuff going on in your own community? Do you see this horrible, horrible stuff going on in your house? I mean, in your little tiny world, is all this chaos and drama really happening? Or are you subscribing to it?
Right. Right.
So a big part of that for me was just focusing on what I can change. I can change myself. I can remove people in my life that are not helping or healing, that are, bringing nothing but drama and negativity and chaos.
It's realizing, right? It's realizing who in your sacred circle, and I always call it that circle where we keep all these people. But we really need to go in every now and then and kind of clean it out. And it's not by guilt, and it's not by being mean to them, but you set them on the outside.
Right.
Usually the ones we set on the outside don't even realize it till down the line, and they're like, hey, wait, what where have you been? Right. And that's their learning curve. So you're right, 100%. You got to clean it out. You got to push that stuff away.
And then developing tools, filling up your own cup.
Right.
Finding things. Start thinking back to when you were a child and what truly made you happy. What did you enjoy before somebody told you weren't good at it, or that, you needed to do work, or you needed to focus on whatever.
Were you a weird kid?
Enjoy? I'm such a weird kid.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord, I'm still a weird kid.
Okay, yeah. I just think back when you said that, and I'm like, yeah, I was a weird kid because I didn't need to be around all the kids, and the kids were bullies. You know how? I mean,
I'm an only child.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was the youngest of 4, and I was adopted, so it was a lot. Even my brother and sister, my 2 oldest ones, were mean to me when I was a kid. Like, really mean to me.
Well, that whole liked irritating people's demons thing, that kind of plays in there too.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're a child and you're really irritating people and people are messing with you, older people, adults, that's not, I can't see how that's your fault as a child. And I think that's more a spiritual thing where it's your light that's messing with something they got going on.
I definitely was strange. I didn't do a lot with the kids, and we had back then, we had the neighborhoods that were safe, and we you had to be in by the time the street lights came on. And we played curveball, we played tag, we did things and I did do that, but in all honesty, I enjoyed being in the house in the basement, which was finished, and I would be doing artwork or building models or whatever, but it
Right?
was anything but being out with other people. And I know as I grew, right, I preferred the company of adults
Yep.
all through
100%.
all through school, right?
Yep. I had my own office in the high school. I wore suits like a weirdo. Like I just pretended I was faculty because I couldn't fit in with people my
Yeah,
age, starting very young.
yeah. And I think it's so important. Like you said, your son is very aware, even at
Yeah.
his little age. It's
Yep.
so important to nurture that. And I just wish people would think about that more when they're trying to buy their kids, here,
Right.
play a game,
Yeah.
here's a phone, and putting young kids on social media is super scary
Oh,
as
it's so
well.
horrible. It is not. I can't fathom why a parent would subject their child to that environment. It
Well,
doesn't make sense to me.
and then, but then people say, oh, well, my kid's not a bully, blah, 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 blah. And they get in there and the kids are emulating what the parents are saying and doing.
Yep.
And we are in an unprecedented time. I look back at, I start with my parents and grandparents, World War One, World War Two, the Korean War, and then my brother with the Vietnam War. And we've seen the riots. I've seen all of this. But what I haven't seen is what's happening today. And in some ways, they're more aware, like the Middle East conflict that's going on right now. People are up in arms. Yeah, the sun. People are up in arms about even Israel. And it's not that they're condoning what Hamas did or in Gaza what's going on, but they're saying, what are you doing? You're no better than them. And I'm glad that they're doing that because they're holding people accountable for it. And I think that's why, people are kind of tiptoeing through some of it. But if you look back in history, the only thing that war achieves is damaging the people that are caught in between that just want to live their lives.
Yeah.
And to an extent, obviously, we're not like over in the Middle East right now, but there's so much hate and violence in the US. That's why I say it's unprecedented. I've
Yeah.
never, and I'm 63, but I've never seen it like the way it is now. So yeah,
So
it's important.
normalized violences.
It's important, right? Do the kids ask you about stuff?
They don't.
Oh,
I'm, you know, they don't ask about anything worldly. They never have. They'll ask about interpersonal things like, well, I don't understand why so and so's mean to me or something like that. But I'm really thankful that they're not exposed to any of it at home, and they're not being exposed to anything at school that's making them come home with questions. So
right.
we also live in a really, really rural area, and they
Oh,
have
okay.
classes of like 12 to 15 kids. So
Yeah. Okay. Well, and that's where I am here. That's where Taylor grew up, was in rural America, farmland and what have you. But just remember, as I get older, the kids aren't any nicer. There's still stuff that my daughter tells me or brings up now, and I just look at her like, why didn't you tell me? Because I dealt with it. I handled it. We handled it. And I'm like, well, that's good. But, so I knew stuff was going on, but some of it I didn't. So it's important for everybody to kind of build
check in with your
children.
circle.
Yeah, right.
Right. Everybody in it. It's the ones that are always going around helping everyone else tend to be the ones that really need their cups filled back up too.
Yep. Yeah. So what you said, and like I said, I understand it 100%. When Christ comes in, or the divine energy, as I call it. So how did that hit you? And I'll use the word lightly, but it God smacks you, right? It
100%.
God smacks
100%. I was an atheist all growing up. I was the kid that would ask those real tough questions to the pastor, like, well, are you saying incest is okay type things? I mean, I never believed in it. It just was not logical to me. And then I had a whole bunch of real tough circumstances. Life threw me a bunch of curveballs. I had a bad car accident when I was 17, and I spent my 20s pouting. I was like, this is not the life I planned. This is not fair. I'm hurting. Like, how do I possibly? No, I'm just gonna sit in my apartment and do nothing, because that's what I can do. I think, that's where I was at, and I spent a decade. I wasted it.
No, you didn't waste it.
Well,
You learned a lot of things at the time, right?
well, I suppose. But then I had some dental work done. I had a teeth cleaning done, and it was at a dental school. And the gal broke an instrument in my mouth and dodged a piece of metal in my gums, which started like a full body infection. And over 6 weeks, I went from 220 pounds to 140 pounds. I was puking like 16 hours a day. Like, I couldn't. It was really, really intense. And I was in the bathtub, and I prayed for the first time, like really prayed in my adult life. And things started changing. At that same time, my mom was at the cemetery in her hometown, and she says what she experienced was like a light went through her. And she drove down to me 6-7 hours away, and she took me to the emergency room, and they said, now mind you, this had been going on for like 6 weeks.
Right.
They said if we'd waited like 2 more hours, I wouldn't have made it. All my organs were shutting down. And they had to put 8 liters of fluid in right away. And so, I mean, I almost died. And like I said, I prayed in the bathtub. And then I've had so many more experiences since then. It's just gotten weirder and weirder and weirder.
Right.
It's weird.
Once you're aware that, yeah, they're real and you're not losing your mind.
Right. That was the big question in the beginning is, okay, this has got to be psychosis. This can't be spirit, because not having the relationship with spirit, when it starts coming in and you start seeing things and hearing things. And it's like, I literally prayed one morning saying, I think I need to check myself in the psych ward. Like, I need a sign or I'm going to the loony bin. And I literally had a silver metal cross with an acorn on it show up, like, in our safe. I mean, it was one of those,
Yep.
Okay, it's real. Okay, I'm not insane, but if I tell anybody this, they're going to think I'm insane, because...
Yeah. You'll reach a point, though, that at least I have in my life, I just don't care. They can believe it or not believe it. Right. It's my truth. It's how I see it. Right. And frankly, I don't care.
I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything, but my life before accepting God and spirit was like black and white. And then as soon as all that entered my life, or I allowed it to, or accepted it or whatever, it's been like this beautiful, colorful cornucopia. I mean, it's messy and some days aren't the best, but there's always beauty. There's always lessons. There's always learning. The bad days don't seem like bad days because I'm getting something out of them. I'm seeing the lessons. I'm seeing that there is a purpose for all the pain.
Right. Sometimes we don't like it. We don't have to like it. I mean, like when I felt
like the spirit, why is this? Why?
Right. I asked him. I was home. I busted my leg up really bad, and I got home and I was like, seriously, you're gonna do this now? I mean, you finally get me rolling in the right direction. You yell at me and tell me I have to allow healing to happen. So I sat with that and figured it out. And then you make me fall. And this is what he told me was because you weren't doing what we needed you to do. And I'm like, couldn't there have been a different way? Like, really? And he was like, no. And what I laugh to, and I don't know if you've experienced this, but when divine energy comes through, whoever it is, doesn't matter. They talk in language, not like the old language. They talk in language that is today, that we would understand. And, you know, I had some interesting conversations for sure with him. And yeah, it's like, what the heck, right? So how has that changed as far as you being as an adult? How has that changed? What are you doing? I had to pick him up because see, he was on his cage, but he crawled under my bed and wanted to be over here. So I apologize for that, but he's being a brat this morning.
Oh, I like when he joins. That's wonderful.
He's crazy.
So I guess, or what was the question? What changed?
How is an adult? How is an adult now? How has that changed? Like your walk, like how you look at things, how you or what are you doing with it? How are you implementing it? You know, how are you kind of you've evolved,
Well, I
obviously.
guess the big thing I see with myself and the spiritual community is the maturity aspect. I think a lot of people get stuck in the Peter Pan, like this is so fun and this is crazy and we're all over here, but then we forget to keep one foot in 3D and having, a stable life. Because if you're not balanced in 3D, things are going to be way too crazy
Right.
in spirit land. So it's all about balance. And the more mature I get, the more I realize that and develop that. And I'm not so intense and I'm able to control my energy and pull it back. And I had somebody explain it to me. It's like an amp. You got to turn it down because sometimes I'll be so excited. I'm pushing people away because my energy is so intense. So it's all about balance. That's what it comes down to, is everything's about balance.
Is it drawing in for you as well? Like you my friends used to call my other house the house of misfit toys, because they find us no matter where we are and they follow us, and it's crazy sometimes. So has that continues to occur?
Absolutely.
I give up anymore. I not that I give up. I shouldn't say that. I don't.
Well, it's
I don't think about
surrendering.
It.
You surrender to spirit. You surrender to the divine, and you say, "This is your show, not mine. Let me be your glory. Let me serve you. Use my vessel to help humanity. Help me help you," is basically the big prayer.
Right. Well, and that's a good point too. Something I always talk about is people keep asking, well, what can I do? Like there's war here, or there's, extreme hate and violence in the US, or, how am I, just one person, going to make a difference? But we do, because it ripples.
Yep.
And our ripples will meet each other, right? And so it's really super important that we pay attention to that and actually do that.
Yep.
Yeah. So what has your journey gotten you to now? Like, what point are you on it right now?
Well, right now, I focused, after kids, I dialed back the spiritual stuff, and I focused really hard on, let's make this 3D thing balance first. And then now I'm at the point where I am opening up more to spirit again, and more experiences are coming through, and I'm channeling more, and my energy is a lot more steady. I guess before, like I said, it's as you mature, you develop these tools to keep the balance. And as you keep the balance, then your energy starts to just solidify. And I feel like that's kind of where I'm at now, is getting this solid energy, so that when spirit comes in and stuff, it's not going to mess with my 3D life. It's not going to rock the boat and, oh no, we've got this spirit coming here, and then I'm ignoring the kids because I've got, so it's all about balance.
I just start flinging white sage everywhere.
Oh,
or a bottle of, and I know this sounds so funny. I was born and raised Catholic. I consider myself a recovering Catholic. I don't like the men in religion, and really it is about the men in religion. And but I do have holy water that I had blessed by an amazing priest up where I live. He was here for 4 years only, but he was from Africa. And I adored him. And he was a true vessel of good.
Yep.
right? So he blessed some holy water. I got a big bottle of it, and every now and then I need to pull it out, and I start spraying the walls with it. It's like, no,
Right?
you're not coming in today. Sorry, bud.
Yeah.
You got to respect that. So yeah, that's something. Well, what? Hi. Yeah. Yeah. Hi. You gonna talk now? Huh? He's such a toddler. Um, Myself now, like I connect with nature, I guess is a way to put it, and that's my main thing. And actually, I got steered that way again, probably back in 2015, by one of my friends that is also Native American, and he said, "Focus on what you know. Focus on nature. Focus on." So, what is your like? What do you use to ground yourself?
I use a lot. I'm a Scorpio, water sign, so my spiritual baths, anything with water, washing my hands, just that's my main thing. And then being in Minnesota, we can't be out, walking barefoot all year round. But
Really? Why not?
well, I actually yesterday morning had to run halfway out to the bus for Willow with her little bag of chips for her class, and it was on the snow and ice, and it's just it was refreshing.
Well, it is. I run hot. I've always run hot, my body temp.
Right.
So every now and then, and I will open windows, not all the way, obviously, like in the
Right.
summertime, but I open them in the house every day, right? So that fresh air comes back
Yeah.
in. And if I really, like, if I have a client, when I'm finished, I go stand out on the porch for,
Yep.
don't you bite me, 10 minutes. Or so, and it just clears your head,
Well,
so
I
I
was even
enjoy
talking to one of the kids' teachers about the same kind of thing, how the kids, when they play in the gym, it's like the energy just builds and builds. But you take them outside to play, it's like they unload it, they get rid of it, it goes,
Yeah. It's
so
yeah, it's interesting too to me because if I really stop and think back, the kids are what gives us our motivation during the day. They kind of feed that energy. I don't know about you, but I think back on some stuff and I'm like, how did I even manage that? And it's because the kids, right? The kids keep
right,
pushing, pushing, pushing.
100%.
So
I mean,
that's
as soon
awesome.
as I got pregnant, well, I started my spiritual journey a few years before I got pregnant with Willow, and when I got pregnant with her, it was like, this is the line in the sand. Like this,
Yep.
different choices are going to be made here. It's about her now. This is not about
Right.
me. And having that focus was really important because at that time I hadn't developed self-worth or self-respect and dignity and all those different things that come along with holding yourself accountable, being honest, being authentic, being, truthful. I mean, just when you start shedding all the stuff that isn't real, all the lies, all the past, all the hurt and negativity, you start finding what's real. You find yourself and you develop actual self-confidence and self-worth. And that's something somebody can't take away from you because it's real. Because it's like, I know I did the work. I know I'm being honest. I know I'm doing the absolute best I can. And nobody can take that from you. But if I hadn't had my daughter as the motivation, I don't know how I would have gotten there.
Well, I look
I
at
need to
everything
tell
as
myself, and maybe that spirit gave her to me for that reason.
right. Nothing happens by coincidence.
Right.
Nothing doesn't affect us somehow. Even all the stuff that wasn't great when we were younger,
Right.
and a lot of it, I don't even think the parents know what's going on sometimes.
Right.
Because we as kids hide it pretty good.
Yep.
But I just think back, and it's a journey through all that stuff, and you kind of we're kind of taught as kids to put ourselves last.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that our parents were bad. It just means that's how they were brought up and that's what they think. And it's always like, hey, we need to put ourselves last because you take care of everybody else first. You take care of the guests first. You take
Right.
the last plate that's served. And that's not how it's supposed to be because
Right.
we have to be able to accept ourselves, love ourselves, and take care of ourselves so that all the rest falls into place. And I think that's why a lot of people now, especially women,
Yeah.
sometimes some of the guys that are more sensitive to things like that, but they're struggling because they're like, well, we're not supposed to well, why are you doing all this for everybody else and not leaving energy for yourself?
Right. You
So,
cannot pour from an empty cup. It just
yeah,
doesn't work as much
right.
as you want to try to. And I did that for many years. It's if you're not filling your own cup up, that you don't have what to give to people. You just don't, and it's not authentic. It's forced, and
Right.
you like I said, meditation, whatever fills your cup up. You need to develop a routine, whether it's your spiritual baths or taking 10 minutes to yourself to sit in your car and listen to music. Whatever you need to do to give yourself energy. Like what can you do to change? Like if you're feeling negative, what can you do to give yourself a boost?
Yeah. Yeah. And we don't want to do that. A lot of times,
Right.
okay, and I'm fogging up again here. Somebody's here. I mean, I can feel it. The birds can feel it in the room. He's getting antsy too. And when I get fogged out on the screen, I know somebody's just stepped in. So how do you deal with that? How do you deal with the messages that come for maybe other people? Do you do that?
I've actually had a lot more coming in, and I haven't been very confident with it. Is my thing is I have had these messages, and I've been really reluctant to share. But I had a cousin pass away just recently, and I've been talking to his sister some, who's my cousin as well, and it's really and I've given her some of the messages, and she's confirmed that it is accurate. So I think it's developing more of a confidence with that. But
Well, sometimes we're not meant to do that. But I think what it does sometimes is it brings in more personal things that assist with
right,
our people that are our people, right?
yeah,
And I think it also gives them hope.
yeah,
And that's really, I look at it and I think to myself, why am I here? And I had this discussion with somebody last night just through texting back and forth. And it's like, not like I laugh because people always think I live an expensive life, that I, have a big house. I used to have a big house, but I don't anymore. I live very simply now. And it cracks me up. But it's like we're there to do what we need to do for whoever comes to us and finds
right,
us. And I think that's one of the most important things. But it's also one of the hardest things because sometimes I just don't want to, And then so they keep coming or they keep showing
right.
up. What are you doing, dude? Don't put holes in this shirt. Oh, he's such a brat. You want to borrow him for a while? Your kids would love him.
Sure, we've got a bearded dragon and a cat. He'd fit right in.
Fit right in. Yeah, he's not afraid of those. He's been around the cats. He's chewing a hole in my shirt because he's mad because he's diving down, but he can't go down. He is the definition of toddler. So if people are wondering about whether they want to have kids, they need to buy
a bird.
time. Yeah, or they can babysit him. Can you believe it? He is such a here. You don't chew on your shirt, dude. Come on. Oh my God, you're such a brat. You're gonna fall. And I'm not catching you. Ooh, he's going right down my back. Oh, now he's on the chair. There you go. That's what he wanted to do. And I apologize. I did not expect him. He was behaving well this morning, so I should have locked him in the cage, but I did not. So sit there now. But yeah, it's always and it's interesting to me too, because you said that you were at your worst when you kind of got godsmacked, and that's kind of where I was again too. I've been smacked a few times in my life because they kind of pick you up from where you're at.
Oh yeah,
hold you, and then just go, and the board clears.
The teacher's
right?
always silent during a test.
Yep.
Where are you?
Yep. And then they put us back, and we have to start all over again.
Yep.
It's like ground zero, right?
Yes.
I've always. Well, I didn't always, but now I just kind of have a little bit of amusement with it, and I'm always like, really? Really? This is how you chose for me to get back to whatever you wanted? Really?
Yeah.
Really? And I had that conversation, and I told my daughter what I told my brother Christ. And my daughter looked at me and laughed, and she said, "Only you would tell him that." I said, "Oh, yeah." And he thought it was funny. I
Right.
mean, he thought it was
They
funny.
do. They do. They
They
do.
don't care.
No. They want real, they want authentic, they want all of you. They don't want a fake conversation because they know it's fake. So who are you pandering for? Just
Yeah.
tell me what you really mean.
And words are just words. They don't care about that either. I found that out when back in 2008 and 9 when I was painting, and I had the angel paintings that I was doing that were on these massive boards, and I had Archangel Gabriel come in, and he was like, "I want you to paint me," and I'm like, "I'm not done with this one. Let me finish with one. You think you can do that?" And he's like, "No, I want you to like set this one aside, and you need to do me." And there's no emotion with them. They don't have emotion. And people kind of look at you like you're a little flip sometimes. And I really don't share it a lot of times.
Right.
But it's like, yeah. And he kept bugging me and bugging me and bugging me like for a period of 3 or 4 days. And the energy in the house would be blowing off the roof. I'd have people that would stop by and like, what is going on in here? I know. And I finally got really cheesed off and I said, "Look, go piss up a rope. I'll get to you when I get to you." And everybody looks at me and goes, "Oh my God, you told an archangel that?" I'm like, "Yeah, they don't care. Words, you could use cuss words. They won't. It's just words, you know?" And they have no emotion. They're just there.
Right.
And I said, "But don't think that they're not bossy too, because they are." And that's always fun to juggle, isn't it? Fun?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, they're gonna get you where you're supposed to be. So it's like, oh, I'm fine. I'm doing it. Okay. Like, I hear you. Like, no, I don't want to exercise, but yes, I am exercising. Like, I asked you for like to optimize my health. Okay, I realize I have to participate in that.
Right, right.
Thank you for the opportunity.
What he did to me was, okay, so I fell. I busted the top of the femur in between the top of the femur and the ball. So it's a little bone that connects it. I didn't hear it snap. I just knew that I had screwed up my ligaments when it happened and stuff. But anyway, it broke. And, you know, we did the big long thing, went to the ER here. They shipped me down to a trauma center because they said, you know, you only break that because of it's a trauma. It's like, no, I just fell. It just twisted and I fell. Well, aren't you in any pain? This is what the trauma team said to me. Are you in any pain? I said, no. Like, and one of the guys, because there was like 6 of them, and it was led by a woman, which was really cool. And she goes, "You don't have any pain?" I said, "No." And then one of the guys goes, "Oh, well, they must have given you some good juice." I said, "No." And they go, "You're not in any pain." I said, "No. I can't stand up. I can't move my leg. I can't control it. I got no pain." And they looked at me, and one of them went out and asked the nurse. And they said, "No, she hasn't been given anything." So what Brother Jesus said to me was, "Well, at least you didn't have pain, but we got you to where you needed to be."
Right.
I said, "Couldn't you have done it in a different way?" Like, that was a really blank move, right? And he just looked at me and he laughed. And I mean, I have visitations where I literally see some of the energies. And he looked at me, he was laughing the entire time. And I said, "Really?" I said, "That was just a blank move." And he goes,
but then you go back to the ripple thing. You go back to the ripple thing. It's like you have no idea how many people you affected through that. You have no idea how their brains worked after you didn't have the pain. Like, you planted seeds. So there is so much depth in each and every little interaction. And if it doesn't make sense right now, it probably will later.
Yeah, or they'll slap us and say, "Well, did you learn it yet? Because we can always send you back to it again." And it's like, "Oh, thanks. I got it. I got it. Holy Lord,
I'm sorry. I learned my lesson.
Right. So what is your mantra? What kind of a mantra do you have for yourself going through your days?
I guess I don't have a specific mantra, but one small thing that changed like my life like it transformed things, was doing the positive affirmations right before bed as you're trying to fall asleep. Just even if you don't believe them, because that's where I started, was like, I don't believe any of these things I'm saying, but these are the things I aspire to be. I was like, I am love, I am light, I am grace, I am peace, I am hope, I am serenity, I am abundant, just go through all those things. And at first it felt forced and fake and false and like annoying. But the more I do it, the more I embody it. And it really is a simple manifestation. So susceptible. So
Yeah.
it's time to program that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I laughed a little bit as well because you said in your earlier life you were an atheist. I have a very dear friend of mine who we grew up together. We were in school together, and I don't know. I've known her over 40 years, so I mean we're close, and her kids are her daughters or their daughters are. I love them to death, and if they ever needed anything, they just have to pick up the phone.
Right.
Same way with my daughter with her. Well, her husband died in last year, beginning of last year, and he died from ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, and it was bad. And he was he was only 62, and a very vibrant man, but old school, construction guy, owned his own company and stuff. And I love him, and I used to call him an ass all the time. You're such an ass. Such an ass. And I still call him that, right?
Right.
And I wound up going down a couple months after he had passed, and I had to go to Carmanos Medical Hospital for tests and stuff. So I stayed with her for a week and helped her out. She had just started going back to work, and her mom lives with her. Her mom's over 90, but very alert. So I stayed there for that week, and they have 3 daughters. And the youngest daughter, who is an amazing, amazing young woman, was in the Army. She went to college. She got her doctorate in physical therapy, all these different things, right? And she's an atheist. So when she talked, she said, no, Dad's just dead. I mean, he's just not here. Right? Well, no. And while I was there, he did so much stuff in the house. Everybody just sat and looked at me. And I'm like, I'm not doing it. How am I doing it?
Right.
And like when he would be brought up, right? Well, this year, and this is the kind of story, it's like what you went through. It's sort of what I went through. And she didn't get injured, but she had something happen to her that was what I call a come to Jesus meeting, right? Yep. And something happened, and she saw a buck, a male deer, or a stag, whatever you want to call it, while she was out in the woods. And her and her dad used to go in the woods all the time. She hunted with them. She fished with them. She just did all that. And she saw the buck. Yeah, fell on the floor again, didn't you? Ha ha. Oh, where are you? Uh-oh. Oh, yeah, there you go. You can better go back to your cage. I'm not even picking you up. Mulan will put you in if you don't. So anyway, she started seeing these, and it was very pivotal things, right? Well, then she called her mom about it because she kept seeing real male deers with the antlers, which is the time that they're going to start shedding next month. But she was seeing them in all these odd places, like on the side of a truck, or, in real life in the woods or whatever. So she called to tell her mom, and her mom said to her, you're never going to believe this. She says, but she had a dream, which I don't call them dreams because when you remember them, they're visions. Yep. And she sat up in bed, and what she saw was they got little ankle biter dogs. I'm not that person. They're cute dogs. They're good dogs. It's just not my thing with the little yippy yappy biters, right? So she had a dream with them that they got out of their yard and they were running for the freeway, and a buck stood at the top of the ramp to stop them from going down the ramp onto the freeway, and she was able to pick them up and take them back. So she woke up and she's like, what the heck? She went downstairs to check on the dogs because they have a in and out door. They're little ankle biters, so it's a little door, but they can go in and out when they want. And then they've got an area that's fenced in for them. And it's not like a cyclone fence. It's, 4 foot. They can't. They're little. They're
Right.
okay. So she went out and looked, and sure enough, she had had construction workers at the house working on something, and they forgot to shut the gate.
Right.
So she was like, "Holy crap!" Like,
Right.
okay. So then when her daughter told her about it, she's like, "Oh my god!" She goes, "Oh," and the youngest one says, "Oh yeah, that's got to be dad. That's got to be dad." So he's been showing up more and more, right? So it's pretty amazing if we allow things to happen. And she's a believer now, which is really super
Right.
great for her. But it's like, wow, because she took her scientific brain
Yep.
and said, wow, there's more than what we know. And to say that it can't exist is kind of ignorant.
Yep.
Because anything's possible. If you look at the world and all the little miracles, even giving birth, the animals giving birth,
Yep.
or just things, it's like there's so many miracles around us. We just have to pay attention to them.
Yep.
I don't know. So what do you practice through the holidays? What do you do with the kids?
Our holidays have been really quiet the last few years. I haven't talked to my dad only lives like a little over an hour away, but I've talked to him once in the last 3 years. He really needs healing, and I gave him a chance, to be back in our lives. And within the first 10 minutes, he was starting the manipulation, and I had to close the door again. And that's been really hard. So doing that, it's kind of cut off a big part of my family. Because I don't know how to have that conversation with the other members, and then him being there, and it's messy. So
complicated is what we do.
Yes,
you know that, right? Complicated is what we do.
We've had just real quiet kind of. We're creating our own little traditions with my mom and the kids and myself, and it's nice kind of doing our own thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, and I actually had this discussion the other day with my daughter, is I think a lot of people during the pandemic, because the pandemic kind of forced us up on each other. Yep. I think people kind of readjusted their family life, right? Yep. Even to the point of cooking with each other, or helping with the chores in the house, or because they didn't really have a choice because we were all forced on top of each other. And I think that's one of the positives that actually comes out of things. But to me, now that Tay is 30, right, and her other half is 33, I believe, or just turned 33. I can't remember. I can't keep up with them. But we decided this is adult time. I don't need anything. I definitely do not want more stuff.
Right.
I just don't. I want to spend time. I want to have a good meal. I want to make cookies. I want to, do that kind of stuff, watch movies, whatever. And that's what I told them. And they said, that's fine. That's great. That's fine.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I don't think my daughter listened to me, because she called me about a couple things. And I said, why do you need to know? You do not be needing to buy me anything for the holiday. Mom, just shut up and give me whatever. It was a shoe size and a shirt size. And I'm like, she goes, just give it to me. But beyond that, and she does that kind of stuff, because I was gonna buy shoes at the beginning of the year, then I fell, then I couldn't, and I have the same 3 pair of shoes I've had for 10 years. They're not dead, they're just and when I'm in the house, I don't have shoes on.
Right.
So,
exactly.
So yeah, but anyway, yeah. So, but we're gonna try that this year, and my mother-in-law, she's 87 now, and she can't hear, so she's got these. She doesn't like to wear the hearing aids, right? And she can't see. She's legally blind. Of course, though, she can see across, like, the train tracks run by her house, then a big parking lot, and then US 23, and on the other side of that is a restaurant. I mean, it's a good city block and a half long, right? To see it, she could sit in her sunroom and she could tell you who showed up from town, who's over at there eating. Yeah, so I think some of it is kind of selective with her. But
I
yeah,
think you earn that selective stuff as you get older, don't you?
yeah, do you look back and think of your 20 something or 30 something year old person or even teen and think, God, if I knew that then, if I only knew that,
Right.
and I don't know that I would have changed anything. I
Right.
really don't. I really don't. Because, yeah, I just don't. I
Yeah.
don't like it when I get told, but yeah, I
Yeah.
don't. Yeah.
You know,
Wait till your babies get older. You're going to have so much fun. You're going to have so much fun. Oh my God, you're going to want to drink if you didn't do it already.
yeah, it's when they leave the house is when when they're teenagers, I suppose is when it really starts.
It starts as soon as they hit like 8th grade.
Yeah.
8th grade and forward, hang on to your hat.
Yeah.
And what's really funny, and I don't know about you, but I look at my daughter and I'm like, been there, done that. Why would you do that? I mean, didn't do nothing for me. And they're like, what? And I said, who do you think, do you think we're all little saints when we're kids? It's like, give me a break. Some of the crazy stuff. I mean, I'm sure you've got crazy tales too,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's like you know what's coming. Now, I can honestly say if I look back at my mom that adopted me, my mom and dad, they adopted me when I was 7 months. They weren't like that. My mom did not drink. And it wasn't because she opposed to it. She didn't care if anybody else drank. My dad didn't drink. They didn't like it. It was just not the way they were brought up.
Right.
I drank in school. I don't drink anymore. But yeah, I drank in school. My mom never had a clue. My dad knew because he'd meet me at the door sometimes. I couldn't get the key. I'd be like this, trying to get the key. And we had old skeleton keys, trying to get him in there to turn the lock. And he always knew. He'd wait for me. He goes, you better be quiet because mom's still sleeping.
Got it.
Yeah, right. But so I kind of look at my daughter and all the stuff that I already knew what she did. And kids, any of the younger kids that call me mom that hang out with her from when she was little, it's the same thing. Who do you think you're fooling?
Well, and then being intuitive and being in tune, if their energy changes at all, exactly, you might not know immediately what is going on, but something's going on.
Well, I can always read through it. I just had an episode with somebody that is a few years younger than my daughter, and was raised with my daughter in her life, and she knew me. And sometimes we ask for truths, and then don't ask me if you don't want to know, because I'm not. Or go find somebody else that can give you a donut because you're not getting anything sweet from me.
Yeah.
And they kind of don't know what to do with it when they get it. And it scares them because I know.
Right.
And then I laugh and I talk with my daughter and it's like, yeah, well,
right.
I told you what's going on. She's like, I hate you, Mom. So, but anyways. Well, I so appreciate the fact that you came on today and shared a little bit of your life with us.
Right.
And I appreciate it. It's just good to talk about stuff and get to know people and hear you and see you. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining me. May the holidays be blessed for you and your kids and your mom and your dad. Okay, I won't leave him out. They're still going to work on him a little bit.
Right?
He'll have his own come to Jesus moment.
Yeah.
All right. So, again, so much love to you. And I so appreciate the fact that you came on today. And until the next one, guys, conversations will continue.
Love and blessings to everyone.